This song was from a movie called Frozen 2. It's a Disney movie, animated, but very beautiful. It's about the story of two sisters, and it pretty much fits my sister and I perfectly. So I really enjoy this song because it has a mystical quality to it. So the message today is called Through the Open Door. And I guess I was always passionate about freedom my whole life, probably because I felt so caught in the eddies of craziness. So I want to show you a few images because I feel that when we show images, it makes more of an impact. So you guys can see my screen? Yeah, okay, great. So I want to start with a quote from Course in Miracles. It says, "What we are is unaffected by our thoughts and feelings, but what we look upon is their direct result. You will yet know that peace is part of you and requires only that you be there to embrace any situation in which you are. And finally, you will learn that there is no limit to where you are, so that your peace is everywhere as you are." And, we can probably all touch on that quite, some of us quite often. Some of us live from that place now, and others are still longing for that. But it is always, always available to all of us. So I was passionate, as I said, about overcoming limitations of all kinds, inner ones especially. The outer ones I was fairly good at overcoming, but the inner ones, that was a different story. And I hope that my journey from being very traumatized and feeling quite hopeless in my earlier life to this present state of a deep, joyful, fulfilled life full of trust and faith, true faith, true trust, could encourage others to keep going as well. So I have when I prepare for a program like this, I often, life kicks up a storm or two, inner storms. So I get the opportunity to practice all this on myself and speak from experience. And I like the message to be more experiential for all of us, not so much theoretical. So we actually sense what we're talking about and connect. So in a recent message in meditation in my little forest hermitage temple from my divine, it was, "Yes, we can use her. She will do as a messenger." we need every able-bodied man, woman, and child right now to help raise the collective consciousness. And it's time. And so they said, "Yeah, she'll do." I found that very humorous. So why do we feel so trapped in our experience, sometimes so imprisoned in this human conditioning actually? It's not our fault. One master from India called it the ancient mind of humanity. And it is really indeed very ancient. It's very heavy and very old. And it is still our operating system. And even though it's quite outdated. And many of us ask, why is it so difficult to quiet those old programs, those inner voices, the commentator within our head, the one who never stops chattering? Why is it so difficult to let go of past hurts and future fears? And why do we take it so seriously, even though we don't even want to? And I think it's because we believe those voices, those messages. We believe what we've been taught from others that we're in pain. So the blind leading the blind is literally what it is like here. And it's been a constant programming how to suffer life, not how to celebrate life. At least that's how it was for me. I was very good at suffering life, and I'm really getting very good now at celebrating it. And I can't tell you in words the gratitude. It's just so overwhelming sometimes. I could just walk around like a blubbering, something, because the gratitude is just so powerful. But, maybe we had painful experiences. Most of us did, or maybe many, growing up, and a belief formed in the child's mind about self, about others, about this life on earth. And then it never left the mind. That belief went deep into the unconscious mind, and it's still operating from behind the scenes. And the tricky part is it has an emotional component, a charge to it, and that makes it all so convincing. So there's a little story about a wild tiger was given to a zoo in America, and they put it into a very small enclosure. And the tiger was walking, pacing in a figure-8 pattern, for day after day, month after month, year after year. And finally, the humans around him woke up and they gave him a large outdoor area to roam in with trees and rocks. But what did the tiger do? It went to a corner of this large, large area, and it used that same small area to do its figure-8 pattern. So the tiger had completely taken on that pattern, even though the situation changed. And why does that make us so sad? Well, it's because in a way we recognize ourselves in that story, and we are doing the same thing. We really are. And the biggest part of it is we need to start recognizing it, really get on to the game here. This is really very important that we recognize what the mind is doing. Otherwise, it'll just keep going like an unconscious, little monkey running everything. And, the part of the mind psyche that is imprisoned is really like a child. And let me share my screen again here so you can. I love to show, gather different images and. Is it still full screen? Okay, great. So this is I make soul portraits, and they are like collages of affirmations, so I can see them, the affirmation. And so this is like breaking the anchor, flying. I always loved flying, and just soaring into, the unknown, really. That's probably what we're afraid of. And so I was saying that the part of the mind that is imprisoned is like a child. It's an angry child. It's an upset child. It's a child that didn't get what she needed or he needed when growing up, and didn't have the proper wise guidance that a child needs. So that child within us, it usually lives in the body and the memory and the belly often, and it does not know love. It does not know God. It just knows what the child knew about life. It got stuck there. And that's where the disconnect happened very early in life, often even in the womb when the mother was, struggling or stressed or upset. The consciousness of the fetus is imprinted by everything around. And so we got programmed from the very time of conception. So the roots are mental patterns that were formed in the subconscious mind. And so the trick is, how do we undo those patterns? And that is really our journey, those of us who are committed. So do we recognize ourselves in this image? I just love it. I mean, you couldn't describe it any better, the human condition. Humanity is like this. And I could just show this image for the rest of the talk. It says it all. But in reality, we really are always free to change our mind. It's just we need to be willing and see where we're trapped. our mental activity always misses the solution, the miracle of life. So just notice how often your mind wants a different experience than the one you are having. And especially when things are painful or upsetting. And also notice, kind of do a little introspection right now. Do you think the past was the good old days? Do you long for the past? Or do you long for a future moment that you think might be better than this moment? And just being very, very honest within is really important. Just to notice and become aware of what's going on internally. It's the most important step. And one of my teachers always used to say, to see is to be free. So let's do a little contemplation and basically you can close your eyes if you want. Contemplate for a few moments which programs of the ancient collective mind are you hooked into most. You know, they can show up as familiar beliefs and feelings like anger, grief, fear, despair, guilt, shame, or thoughts, I'm not good enough, or life will never get better, or, you know, I'm all alone, whatever it is, not judging it, just really being open and honest to see which program is predominant. And there is nothing wrong with any feelings at all. But what have you perceived is inescapable or unchangeable. And what we do is we identify with those programs. We think that is us. So if an artificial persona, a made-up sense of self gets formed, and then we live by that as if it was us. We speak as I from that place. And just for a moment, ask your mind, because you're not your mind either, at least not the chattery one. Ask your mind, what does it think it would gain if it had this or that or a future more beautiful moment? What does the mind think it would gain that it doesn't already have right now in this very moment? So what we do is we actually learn to get on. We're learning to observe the mind's tricks and what it's up to. And there is a lot of things one can do. If you, there is another soul portrait I made, and I put my inner child, this is actually me at 3, and I put my inner child into the situation where she would have felt happy and safe. The humans weren't safe, but she loved the animals. And she always dreamed of a world where all the animals and everyone would get along. But that image is very soothing for that inner child part. And she just gets happy looking at it. So I allow that healing work to take place where we can connect with that past, with that younger part of us, and develop a relationship of trust with all the hurt aspects within us. And this is really important. And it's also important to relax into the pain, into everything we think is wrong. Because there is a difference between pain, which is sensations, and there's and suffering, which has a story or a meaning attached, and a lot of emotional juice. So pain and suffering is not the same thing. So this is an image that when I look at that little mouse, that creature, I just go, you know, does that mouse worry about the past or the future? I think it's just here. Yahoo, life, you know, in this flower. It's amazing. And this little monk, there, this little baby monk, nothing is under control. Might as well relax. And I noticed in my own life that the less I try to make things work out, which is my program, but the less I follow the program, sometimes I'm good at declutching from it, the more life just works out on its own. I always say life is lifing. and I can just allow it more and more. But some of those programs are strong when you felt you had to survive and had to, fight really hard to make it all work out. That doesn't let go so easily. But there is hope, as I said. So I want to do another little contemplation here. And this one is I put together some images that just remind me of my true self, my essence. And so look at these images for a moment and see which one reminds you most of your essence nature. And how does that feel, your essence? Do you remember? Can you connect with it right now? Without the ideas that you have to be more advanced or any different than you are. And without the idea that you have to wait for a future moment for that enlightenment or whatever you're looking for. How about just connecting with that essence, the joy which we're naturally programmed to feel joy. It's just that we started to believe in everything else. It's like a hidden treasure. It's always there, but we do have to do some practicing to unbury it. When we dig into the earth to find a treasure, we have to work hard. We have to shovel and, keep shoveling, and it can be a good workout. But it's so worth it. It's really worth it. I speak from experience. So for a moment, I want to show you there is a method called havening, and it's a touch like this from the shoulders to the elbow. And it's a modern neuroscience method that calms the nervous system. It's very soothing. And I want to invite you to do that with me. Also, you can do this one, the palms, just very slowly touching the palms of your hands. And as you do that movement, just smile slightly again and take a nice deep breath. And then can you imagine yourself completely free of any program of the past? Just here in your divine essence. Right now, breathe it in, relax into it, and relax everything that's in the way of that. Relax it away, just relax. Let's take a mini vacation from who we normally think we are. Let it all be stripped away completely. Just here, right now. In our very essence nature. And we can sense that there is something in us that is unaffected by any perceived limitation. And it's always beckoning. It's always available. It never ever abandons us. But it is so polite that we have to ask. We have to ask for it. And this presence allows all that is in the outer world, all the ups and downs, the waves, the dramas, the stresses. It allows all that to arise and subside within it. So there is never any judgment in our essential true nature, nor is there any in life. It's just a theme park earth where we learn what does what, We learn about love, and we learn about setting the mind right. And that is a lifetime project, probably many lifetimes. So I made this soul portrait for myself because I wanted to show that the medicine is in the poison, and the light is in the dark, and the dark is in the light. So this image to me talks about integration. And the instrument is a 100-string sound column that a friend of mine built. I don't have it, he sold it, but it was just magnificent. And it's really about welcoming, especially those painful parts. We have the tendency to push them away and to try to fix them or to run away from them. But leaning into it is, it's an amazing practice. And it's not easy at first. It seems counterintuitive. But leaning into it, breathing and seeing where is it in the body? Where is this upset, this disturbance, this pain? And to meet it. You know, Matt Kahn used to say, when you ignore the inner child or you give it spiritual lectures, it turns gangster. And, you know, I've seen that in many people. The reason they misbehave is they keep ignoring their own pain, and so they act out sideways. You know, they fling it either onto others or they harm themselves. But it's always the same principle when we cannot meet our own pain. So I had a dream that many time, a long time ago in Alaska, actually, in my late 20s. I will never forget this dream. It's more strong than any other daytime dream. I was in a forest walking alone, and I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and a lion ran at me, and I was just getting more and more frightened. And I thought I was going to die. But right in front of me, the lion stopped, and it ran back into the forest. And then the same thing repeated. And the second time, I was even more frightened. But he stopped again. And I still kept dreaming. I didn't wake myself up from fear. But the third time he ran at me, he actually didn't stop. But what happened is he jumped over my head. And when he landed on the other side and I turned around, all the fear was gone, completely gone. It was like so miraculous. And we just rolled around on the ground in an embrace, you know, just like long lost beloveds. And it was ecstatically blissful. And then we walked like this. So I made this soul portrait showing how we walked after that. But then after a little while, the lion disappeared again. And then when he returned, he brought me something. And he brought me what I had lost. And I didn't know at the time, I had the feeling when I was walking alone that I had lost something, but I didn't ever see or know what it was. It's only now that I know what I had lost. And it was that full aliveness, that innocence, that openness with life. The treasure is to be able to open, and even if it's breaking open, our heart sometimes is breaking open, but that was the gift. And by facing my deepest fear and the fear of dying, you know, just like so scary, by facing it and actually staying present with it, that's when it shifted into total ecstasy, really. It was amazing. So Jeff Foster says, there are two core fears: losing what you have and not getting what you want. And there is one solution: falling in love with where you are. And what does every being really want? When you look at why do we want this or that, a new house, a new partner, a job, you know, why do we want to do what we want to do or have what we want to have? Or why do some of us want to be enlightened, awakened? It's really because we all want to feel good. It's human nature. Everyone wants to feel good within and without. That's it, period. So the mind, because it's full of strategies about life, goes about that in some really strange ways. It just keeps trying to fulfill endless desires on the outer. But if we identify with consciousness, with the spirit, that which animates the form, which projects all forms, then we're always home. We're always the same. And I don't have time to finish this actually, but I'll just go through it really quick. So when we get in touch with our fears, we kind of, with the unknown, with mystery, we go like, oh, let's peekaboo. And then it gets too scary. So we'll just settle in on the edge and we make a nice cafe and we have a cappuccino and we have a tea and we have a nice meal. We settle in, forget about that cliff. But after some time, that doesn't work. As we all know, we have to face it again. And eventually, we do this. Yahoo! We jump into the mystery. We actually allow life, the river of life, to take us. That mystery, it's undefined and it's unknown. And that pathway is right through the heart of our pain. I have not found, I would really tell you if there was a shortcut, but I have not found it. And I searched earnestly and passionately. There is no shortcut, but through the heart of our pain. And it's the only game in town. So why not? Nothing else matters to me but to bring this mind back home to where it already is, but I forgot. And to help others to bring their mind back home, to bring their hearts back home. That is all I want. So everything I do is now used for that. So here are some images of beings of great courage and inspiration. No matter how they were imprisoned, some of them, and tortured, and no matter what, they changed the world because they were free inside. They dealt with any pain on the outer. They had true commitment to that. And then, do not conform to the patterns of your mind. That's from Romans, actually. And from, let's see here. I have to skip a few wonderful things because time is such a funny thing. Yogananda says, how you interpret your experience is rather important. Are you receiving your experience as a blessing or as a punishment? That is the question you must constantly ask yourself. All experience happens for one purpose only, to expand your awareness. Any other meaning you see in your life experience is a meaning you have made up. When you see the world in its utter neutrality, you will understand that it exists only as a tool for your learning. And music was one of my main tools. It was given to me as a gift. And one more quote from Jeannie Zandi. She says, we are asked over and over to offer our empty hands, to let the things we are gripping drop, to give up everything that does not exist in this vibrating moment. Hand over all that has happened, all that might happen, every sweet dream we cling to. This is life's loving strip search. Give it all over. Something else wants to live you. And that's our discovery. So maybe I can finish where I left off next time. And I wanted to also let you know that I go by invitation. I'd be happy to officiate ceremonies, different events, whether it's through music or speaking or some kind of fun ceremony. But feel free to call or to email or go on my website. It's angelikahealingmusic.com. And Angelika is spelled with a K. Very important. And so I want to share with you a song that came actually, which I just composed, or I shouldn't say composed because they just kind of come. They come to me. They are gifts. And this one is called Through the Open Door. It fits with the talk. And if you hear a lot of background noise, that's the rain on the roof. Walk with me through the open door. Something now is calling us home, stronger than ever before. Walk with me through the open door. Now we can walk each other home and follow the music of our soul. Were we ever really lost? Or was that just a dream? Perhaps it's up to us. What we decide is real. Are we ready to let go of all we think we know? Of everything we thought and ways that we were taught? Walk with me through the open door. Something now is calling us home, stronger than ever before. Walk with me through the open door. Now we can walk each other home and follow the music of our soul. It takes just what it takes for hearts and minds to change. We got a little lost to find our way again. And anyone who wants can now be really free. Opportunity is here, it's speaking loud and clear. Walk with me through the open door. Something now is calling us home, stronger than ever before. Walk with me through the open door. Now we can walk each other home and follow the music of our soul. It is time now. It is time to come home right now. It is time now. It is time to be